July 8th, 2026, 7 p.m. I will call this Planning Commission meeting to order. And we will administer the oath of office. Dana, I guess. Should we do the pledge first? Sure. Shannon, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Kathy, I think you're coming up with me too.
Okay. Yes, I am.
Sorry. I, Jeff Shue,
Do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
that I will well
and faithfully
and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You sign.
Guess that would work.
I, Catherine Fiore,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear
that I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution
to the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of California,
of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully
and
discharge the duties
discharge the duty
upon which
upon which
I'm about to enter.
I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Need the reading glasses. Congratulations, Kathy. Thank you. And we'll move on to roll call, please.
So Chair Hedges is absent. Vice Chair Shu,
Here.
Commission Member Chuditsky, Here.
Commissionmember Fiore,
Here.
Commissionmember Hutnick.
And due to absence of Chair Hedges, we are going to postpone the election of Chair and Vice Chair until our next Planning Commission session on August 12th, 2026. We will now hear the reading of the appeal notice.
In the event that you disagree with the action taken by the Planning Commission in regards to your application, or with any condition for approval for the application which is not specific, is not a specific requirement for the Norco Municipal Code, you are entitled to appeal such determination or conditions to the Norco City Council, provided that such appeal is filed with the Norco City Clerk within 10 calendar days after the requirements for appeals, inclusive of payment of any appeal fee.
Thank you, Lacey. And we'll move on to agenda 1, public comments. Do we have any public comments?
I do, Bonnie Slager.
Hey, Bonnie.
I hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July, and I hope some of you at least participated or came and watched the 4th of July ride. So moving on now, it's Fair Button time. So Fair Buttons are now available in stores on 6th Street and on Hamner, including here at City Hall. Again, they're still $15 pre-sale, $20 at the gate. Where else can you spend a whole weekend for $15? And if your kids are under 10, they're free. Are your kids always going to be under 10, Jeff? So they're free. Enjoy it. It doesn't last that long. Anyway, time to buy your Fair Buttons. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I have no further speaker cards.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 2, the consent calendar. Do we have any questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain motion. One of you is going to have to make a motion.
I'll go to motion on accepting the minutes.
I second it.
I have a motion from Member Chuditsky and a second from Member Hutnick. Vice Chair Shu,
Yes.
Commissioner Member Chuditsky,
Yes.
Member Fiore,
Yes.
and Member Hutnick.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And having no items pulled, we will move past item 3 to agenda item 4A.
Good evening, Vice Chair and Commission members. I'm here to present Accessory Building Use Permit 2026-04. This is a request to allow a 576 square foot garage building located at 841 7th Street within the A120 zone. This is the aerial of the current site. The surrounding sites are all residential agricultural with single family residences on them and are all zoned A120. This is a more illustrative plan. This shows in yellow is existing residence. Green is the animal keeping area. Blue is the proposed structure. And the orange color there is the existing attached garage, which is going to be reduced, but is not part of this entitlement. These are the elevations of the structure. They do match the existing paint and veneer on the front of the home. And it does meet all of the standards in our municipal code for this type of structure. The findings, the requested accessory building use permit is consistent with the general plan and zoning requirements of the zone in which the property is located, including the protection of adequate open animal keeping areas on lots where the animal keeping of large animals is permitted. The requested accessory building use permit will not have an adverse effect on the public convenience thereof and will not adversely affect adjoining land uses, including runoff and drainage impacts and architectural compatibility. The requested accessory building use permit will not prohibit a future detached new construction accessory dwelling unit of 800 square feet or less that preserves the required animal keeping area and the required access to the required animal keeping area. And the City of Norco, acting as lead agency, has determined the project is categorically exempt from environmental assessment per Class 32. Planning Division is recommending approval of Accessory Building Use Permit 2026-04, subject to the attached conditions of approval on Resolution 2026-23. And any questions?
Thank you, Michael. We'll have questions of staff. Shannon, do you have any questions?
No.
Kathy?
I have none.
I have nothing.
Michael, just quick clarification. You had indicated that the existing garage is being reduced in size. I think part of that is to provide access to the rear of the site. And you indicated that it is not part of this approval. My question is, can we make it part of the contingency of the approval?
We can certainly add a condition if that's the will of the commission.
I think part of the reason why I asked is because it's shown on the drawings, the submitted drawings, that there's plans for the reduction, showing how it would be reduced and the elevations for it. I think it shows a good plan for the reduction, and that I would like to see it so that we can be in compliance with the side yard access on it. I would like to include it as part of our condition, but I know that it is not currently written in that way. I guess my question is to you is, do you anticipate the applicant having problems with that?
We do have the applicant, the applicant is here to answer questions if they need to, but we can certainly add that condition if the commission rules.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're done with the questions of staff. Do we have any public comments?
I have no public comments.
Okay, I will ask for the applicant, if the applicant is available. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Matthew Rico. I just want to first and say thank you, staff, chair members, over your questions. So, yeah, there's no issues with adding that condition to.
Okay. Part of the reason why I asked is because, especially with these plans, it's better if we're able to clarify it ahead of time so that when it does come time for you to submit the actual drawings, there's more clarity on it. So if I do get your confirmation that you're okay with the reduction on it, I would like to write that into the conditions of approval. So do you have any objections to us including that?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. Hi, Matt. How are
Yeah,
you?
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
The renderings show, and I know these were just kind of taken as an idea or a visual to give us an understanding of how it will lay out, but they are colored blue as if the color of the building is blue. Is that what is intended?
Yes, the current main dwelling is a shade of blue, right? So
So it's going to
proposed garage
remain,
is gonna, yeah,
the
it'll
house
remain to
color is going to
match-
remain.
match
So it's,
existing.
I'm just thinking back in my previous life on staff, and that blue was not a color included in our code as one of neutral colors. I realize we don't regulate house colors, so this kind of makes any new structures follow that, whatever the house color is at the moment. But when it comes to a new structure, we have weighed in the past with a color scheme that is set out in the code. Do you have any, did you ever look at that, or did that come to any place of decision along the way?
Yes, early on with meeting with the client, there was a discussion of having a different color to the detached garage. and then in the future, painting the main dwelling.
Right.
But at this point, there's no,
Pathway.
work that first we want to get approval with the garage and then see if it's accepted to then add the additional work to the main dwelling. And my understanding is, in the future, possibly, the main dwelling will be painted. But I did not look into, any
How the
color
code-
scheme or any of that in the municipal code.
Well, this is the first time I've seen, a color has been at least historically outside the realm of the color palette for a new structure. So that's where I am.
Yeah, if I may say, if there's other color options that the commission wishes to explore here, that certainly can be done. If blue doesn't fit the site or that part of town or whatever it may be, typically for a question to planning, we typically, when we see second buildings coming in, we try to have it match and fit in well with the original building that's on the site. So you don't have a white and a black or a blue and a pink and or something else, right? It should fit the site by design and architectural standards and so forth and so on. So I think it's a great comment and worth some attention here. I don't know what is the main structure color of the house
It's blue. It's similar to the
today?
to the elevation.
I think,
today.
I think part of it is also the rendering color is not quite the same, because
Yeah.
if you look at the photo, it's a more muted blue.
Softer, yeah. 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 The photos definitely look more appealing
Brighter.
versus the stark, bright rendering, so it's a good comment, but however commission wishes to proceed.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other speaker, or, sorry, we didn't have any speaker. All right, I will bring it back to our commission for discussion. Kathy, how do you feel about the color?
Well, it's tricky because we're trying to stay within a palette that is consistent with what we have done over time in Norco. And yet this is in conflict with that because we're also requiring that the accessory building match the color of the existing house. So
The way that I looked at it, the blue almost looked more like a gray with a blue tint rather than the blue in the rendering.
The
And so
rendering, yes.
that was why I was more okay with it. But I guess one of the things that I think we could do as part of the condition is normally when it moves further is that we can ask for an actual drawdown of the actual paint color to be reviewed by the architectural review, so that we don't hold up this approval and simply have a condition that the final paint color will have a drawdown for architectural review to confirm.
So would that statement be a condition added to the conditions?
So, yeah. Do you guys see any issues with that? Colby and
No, that's good for staff.
you guys want me to make the motion? All right.
I guess.
Sorry, Dennis, do you have any?
Oh.
Sorry, I faced that way. Do you?
No, as far as the colors go, as long as it's cohesive within the whole project itself, with all the buildings and whatever, I'm good with it.
With that, I will make a motion to approve accessory building use permit number 2026-04, subject to the attached condition of approval on resolution 2026-23 with the revision of including the reduction in size of the existing garage, as well as the requirement for the final color of the accessory building to be submitted to the architectural review for final review and approval.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Shu and a second from Member Chuditsky with the added conditions of reducing the existing garage and the color of the new detached garage to be submitted to ARC. Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
Member Chuditsky?
Yes.
Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Hutnick?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, and we'll move on to public hearing. Moving on to agenda item 5A. Where's Erica?
Good evening, Commissioners. It's nice to see all of you. Item 5A is a conditional use permit, 2026-03. This is a request to allow an existing beer and wine license to be upgraded to a full line of alcohol beverages, which includes beer, wine, distilled spirits, which is hard liquor, at an existing sit-down restaurant at 3250 Hamner Avenue, which is located within the CG Commercial General Zone. Here is an aerial view of the site. It's located just west of Hamner Avenue. The lot is about 3.85 acres, and this specific lot is developed with 4 separate multi-tenant commercial buildings. Highlighted in red is where the restaurant's located. Here is a street view of the site. That banner is no longer there. This is a nice view from the street. The site analysis, the existing land use, zoning, and general plan surrounding the area is all located within the commercial general zone. Just southwest of the site, there is an area that is also heavy commercial, light manufacturing M1 zone. This is the floor plan of the site. The restaurant is approximately 3,000 square feet. It has 2 dining areas as well as a bar area. The CG zone does allow, it is a permitted ancillary use to have beer and wine services, especially at a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant. However, full line or distilled spirits is not. So requesting an upgrade or hard liquor would require approval of a conditional use permit per Chapter 1845. In the Planning Commissioner's consideration of the proposed request, the following can be considered. ABC does require information with sensitive uses within 1,000-foot radius. 100-foot radius, also 500, and also up to 1,000 for sensitive uses. The most important is within the 100-foot radius of the site, and there is a church and a public library that's available within that 100-foot radius. These are the active licenses that are on site for on-site consumption for sit-down restaurants. So those are 6 of them. 2 of them do have multiple licenses. That type 58 is a catering license, which is expected. ABC allocates a certain number of licenses based on the population of a census tract. If the number of alcohol licenses within that certain census tract exceeds the allocation from ABC, then it could be considered over-concentrated in that area. The site is located in Census Tract 408.12 and is allocated according to the State of California Alcohol Beverage Control for 3 on-site licenses. There are 6 on-site licenses, or I should say 6 on-site licenses for uses for actual establishments. There are 2 extra. Like I said, there's 2 catering licenses that are also on there, which still has 6 on-site licenses available. So the census tract does have an existing overconcentration of on-site alcohol licenses, but the request involves the upgrading of an existing beer and wine license to a different type for full line. And ABC would require that they either surrender or close the existing beer and wine license. So staff does look at this as it not adding to the concentration of alcohol licenses that exists. So staff does have to meet the findings for a conditional use permit to recommend approval, and here are the findings. The requested conditional use permit will not adversely affect the general plan or the public convenience or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood. The zoning designation of the project is Commercial General, CG, which permits a restaurant use. Alcohol sales with an approved conditional use permit will allow distilled spirits for on-site consumption in conjunction with the existing restaurant use. The general plan does not specify distilled spirits in its land use element, but it does outline goals for economic development policies that encourage the continued success of existing businesses within our community on commercial sites. The sale of distilled spirits ancillary to an existing restaurant when operated in compliance with the conditions of approval would be consistent with the surrounding uses and would not adversely affect the public convenience or general welfare. Finding number 2 is the requested use would not adversely affect the adjoining land uses and the growth and development of the area in which it's located. The site is located in a mixture of commercial uses that adjoin the subject site. The proposed project meets the land use provisions of the CG zone in the Norco Municipal Code, and the proposed land use to upgrade the existing beer and wine license to also sell distilled spirits for on-site consumption as an added amenity would not cause a negative impact. The size and shape of the site is adequate to allow the proposed use. This is an existing site. There's no land development being requested with this, and the size and shape of the site is existing and adequate to allow the existing use to continue the sale of alcohol to include distilled spirits for on-site consumption at an existing restaurant. The traffic generated by the proposed use would not impose an undue burden upon the streets and highways in the area. The sale of a full line of alcohol beverages as an added amenity as condition would not cause an undue burden. With that, I do want to let you know that I did speak with the sheriffs, and they have no problems with this request. And with that, staff would recommend approving conditional use 2026-03, subject to the attached conditions of approval in resolution number 2026-24. And the owners are here. Part of the owners are here.
Thank you, Erica. Dennis, do you have a question for staff?
I've got a personal feeling about this, and I don't know how it comes to play in all this. I'm not too much in favor of hard liquor being served for breakfast. You know, I could see if it was like 11 o'clock till closing, 11 till 9 or something like noon, lunch on through. My personal feeling is hard liquor starting to be served at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm not too much in favor of that. But beyond that, I don't see anything wrong with the liquor license.
Kathy? Yep.
An observation and a question. So in the resolution, condition 12 speaks to the approved hours. So is that reference to the hours that were approved at the time that the original business was approved to operate as a restaurant? Is that what the term approved means?
So this is what I believe ABC has approved they have a beer and wine license now.
Okay, so it's an
Yeah.
ABC approval for those hours, okay. So, I see where the 8 o'clock request for 8 o'clock on Saturday is shown in the condition, but their advertised hours also include Sunday, 8 AM to 8 PM. So is Sunday not going to be a day where the distilled spirits would be sold?
Well, I don't think they want to have restrictions on their, when they open up. I have to look at the conditions as far as ABC, because they're going to have different conditions. So if the type 47 is granted by ABC, there could or could not be conditions placed on them by ABC. That's determined by the state of California,
Okay,
not us.
but the condition 12 is what they're requesting. And that
Right.
okay, so they're not
So-
requesting Sundays?
So they're open daily, and I was
Correct.
told this was
Except
what
Saturdays.
was relayed to me daily, 10 to 9 PM. Saturdays, they open up at 8.
And Sundays, they open at 8?
Yeah, so we'll have to confirm that with the applicant, because this information is what I gathered
Okay.
from the applicant.
I can tell you just from a legal standpoint, the way that it's written, every day but Saturday is going to be 10 AM to 9 PM. Saturdays, 8 AM to 9 PM. But every other day, that would include Sunday, the way that this condition is written, would be 10 AM to 9 PM.
Okay, so that is the way it's written.
That's the
So
way that
from-
yes, it's written in there
So from
legally.
8 to 10 AM on a Sunday, there would be no,
No, from 8 AM to 9 PM on Saturday.
Right.
Every other day of the week, that would also be Sunday, it's 10 AM to 9 PM.
correct. But their operation hours are 8 AM on Sunday as well. They're the same as Saturday.
So according to this condition, that's correct. From 8 to 10, they
10.
would not be serving alcohol
Alcohol.
per number 12. That's
Okay.
legally the way that it's written. If that's not the intention, it can be changed, but that is the way it's written.
Okay.
Correct.
So I think we
Yeah.
would want them
So
to,
yeah, so that's
answer
the
that one.
hours that were given, but if they need to change that, they should speak up, because this could be modified.
Thank you. Kathy, any more? Shannon, any questions? All right, I have no additional questions, so we will move on to public comments, and I'll ask the applicant to come up first.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Would you like to speak to the hours question that was raised and bring in a clarification that you?
Yeah, we are, she is correct. We're open from 8 to 9 on Saturday, and Sunday we are open 8 to 8 p.m. So I don't know if we gave the wrong hours, and we could correct that, whatever you guys need. We do open early on the weekends, so that's the only reason that maybe there was a mix-up, but we do open at 8 on Saturday and Sunday, so.
So is your intention that you want to modify the conditional approval to include Sunday to start at 8 as well?
Yeah, we want to change that just so we're not messed up with you guys and have a wrong date that we're supposed to start at.
Any questions for the applicant? Shannon?
Yeah, my question, just for my own personal information, how do you feel about serving hard liquor at 8 o'clock in the morning?
I don't think it's an issue, but I also think it's depending on the person. You know, it's different to everyone. Not everyone's going to drink liquor at 8 a.m., but it really just depends. There's not that much people and that I know that would drink at 8 a.m., but you never know. You know, there's all types of people who drink at 8, 2 in the morning. It's really a personal thing more than we want to mess with the public or anything. You know, we want to assist the public and hope the public doesn't take advantage of stuff like that, like drinking too early or whatever the issue is.
Are you going to be able to police that yourself?
Yeah, we plan to add a whole extra security on top of it, like ID checking, all that stuff, make sure that we comply with everyone, and just try to keep a hand over everything and make sure that everything goes good. You know, we don't like to have any issues.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comments?
I have no speaker cards.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing and bring it back for discussion. I will start a little bit in response to yours, Dennis. I too would not be drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I think part of our role here as a planning commission is not really to insert our personal opinions, but rather look at what is being requested and what we are tasked to do as part of the body. And so I primarily, with something like this, I defer to staff on doing the research as well as the sheriff's department. And I think it means a lot that the sheriffs have provided feedback that they have no concerns about this, and the fact that it already has an existing license and that this is more of a modification to it, I personally feel more on board with it. But would you like to speak more on your stance?
Well, like I said, it's just a personal note, looking out for the community as a whole, but the initial liquor license was granted with those hours and intent, and I guess it's, as long as the applicant is willing to police the situation himself and conduct it in a professional manner, then I don't have any problem with it.
Kathy?
I don't have any comments.
Shannon?
There.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve of conditional use permit 2026-03, subject to the attached conditions of approval and resolution 2026-24. With the condition, with the added Sunday with the time frame that needs to be added to it.
So specifically, just for the record, I believe the time frame was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sundays. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, do we need a second?
I need a second.
Sorry. Kathy seconded. Don't just stare at us. You need to prompt us.
My apologies. Vice Chair Shu,
Yes.
Member Chuditsky,
Yes.
Member Fiore,
Yes.
Member Hutnick,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 5B. Michael?
Good evening again, Vice Chair and Commission members. This is a continuation of Conditional Use Permit 2025-05. This was originally a request to allow additional 7 animal units for a total of 12 at 4291 Woodward Avenue within the A120 zone. This was continued on June 10th to date specific of tonight, to allow for the applicant to revise the proposal to address various concerns such as overcrowding on the property. This is the current zone, is surrounded by a 120. This is the current aerial. Again, the surrounding uses are listed here, all single-family residential in residential agricultural designation and A120. So we do have a revised plan that was provided to the commission. We received a report from Animal Services that was revised, and this was modified to address the requests of that report. This next slide will be a closer zoomed-in version for those that would benefit from it. So the main modifications that were made, the orange area has been added as a quarantine pin. There's now a proposed manure storage area in the brown area there. There has been a fence added to separate the animal keeping area from the rest of the property. These stalls have been pushed together to allow the horses to socialize. This area right here has been labeled as a turnout area on the plans. There are 4 stalls that are slightly larger than the normal. I believe they're called foaling pens, thank you. Those were requested by Animal Services and have been implemented into plans. We have verified that there will be 5 feet between all of the animal keeping area and the property lines. I believe that was all. So Animal Services has submitted a revised report, which is provided as an Exhibit E, that recommends approval of an additional 3 animal units for a total of 8 on the property. There are currently no active code enforcement cases on the property, and the owner has asserted that they will be living on the property once the animal unit increase has been approved. So the findings that the commission would need to make to approve this permit would be the requested conditional use permit will not adversely affect the general plan or the public convenience or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood thereof. The requested use will not adversely affect adjoining land uses and the growth and development of the area in which it is located. The size and shape of the site is adequate to allow the proposed use. The traffic generated by the proposed use will not impose an undue burden on the streets and highways in the area. And we have determined that this item is exempt from our environmental assessment pursuant to CEQA Class 32. So Planning's recommendation is to approve Conditional Use Permit 2025-05, subject to the attached conditions of approval on Resolution 2026-18, which specifies a total of 3 additional animal units for a maximum of 8 animal units on the property. And we do have the family of the applicant here. The main applicant could unfortunately not make tonight. Any questions? Oh, and Animal Services is also present.
Thank you, Michael.
If you have questions.
We'll have questions of staff. Shannon, we'll start with you.
No questions.
Kathy?
I have none.
Dennis?
No questions.
I've got a couple of clarifications, more process on this. We have written into our conditions that this, if granted, will sunset in 2 years. I can't recall, was that a change from the previous proposed condition?
Yes, if memory serves, the previous condition was 5.
For 5 years. Now, part of the reason why I asked is because under the condition number 16, we also indicate the biannual inspection of the first 2 years and then yearly inspection after. So those two seem to be a little contradictory or superfluous, I guess. But question for Colby on this. Once the conditional use permit is approved and it sunsets in 2 years, and the applicant needs to come back, they would need to pay an additional fee for modification, correct?
Yeah, if a CUP sunsets, then there is a new CUP required to continue a business use or an animal keeping count.
So my question for this is that I feel that we are writing into this condition of approval a lot of safeguards in order to preserve what we intend this to be for animal keeping, that I feel that the sunset is unnecessarily restrictive, considering we've already written into other parts of the condition on safeguards that we have put in place in terms of annual checkups and conditions of cleanliness that are in there. So I guess, is there a guideline on the sunset clause, or could we go back to the 5 years, I guess?
It is the commission's desire. If it's the commission's desire to stick with 5 years, we can do that.
I'll reserve that for our commission discussion after. We will go to a public hearing, and do we have any speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards.
Not so fast.
Bonnie Slager.
Hey, Bonnie.
Okay, as I think you all know, I really want people with horses to move into this town, so I'd really like to see these people move here. However, I don't think this is the piece of property for them to be on with their 8 horses. I think it's interesting, last time that you voted, the 2 people that I know have horses voted no, it wasn't enough room. The other 3 of you were willing to give them another chance. I think you need to listen to the people that have horses. I have 8 horses. I clean up after them every day. I feed them every day. And I'm on 3 acres, not a half acre. And I don't know where they're going to put their month's worth of hay. I can't imagine cleaning up after 8 horses without having a tractor to put the manure in and get it in the dumpster. I think that property is lower in the back than the street. If it's like my friend that lives a couple houses down from there, when it rains, they're going to end up with a lot of water in the back of the property if it's like the others on that street. I just don't think it's the best thing for the horses in what they've designed there. And then if I read it right, and I'm not very good at reading diagrams, but the stalls are 12 by 22? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Then they'll have to have all their pipe panels custom made. Pipe panels don't come in 22 length units as far as I know. They come in 12, 18, and 24. So I hate to see somebody spend all the money and everything to try to set up something that doesn't work. And I'm not sure that they realize that every pipe panel for 22 feet is going to have to be custom made. The 12 feet you can get, but you can't get 22 feet as far as I know. And I really think they need to rethink this plan. I think they need to have a piece of property that's more appropriate for what they've got. And I hope they can find it, and I hope they move here. I love having more horse people move in. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do we have any other cards?
I have no further speaker cards.
Thank you. We'll close public hearing and bring it back for discussion. Which way did I start last time? I'll start with you, Dennis.
I've received, since our last meeting, I've received a lot of input on this situation. And to put it in Norco terms, the guns are loaded. There's going to be a lot of people standing in line for that exact variance. I've got 4 neighbors that have all gotten in problems with having too many animals. And they're waiting for this, waiting to see what this decision is. I can't see that many animal units. Let's get away from the word horses. Let's put animal units in that, in a half acre. It's just too much. It's too congested. There's a lot going on that property. There's a lot happening there. I don't believe the property can support that. So my input is just that I don't feel that the stalls for what is being proposed, the stalls are big enough to support folding stalls, first off. And second of all, it's just too much animal keeping area for that piece of property. That's it.
Kathy?
The conversation you had about the sunset. So based on that sunset clause, let's just say it was 5 years, and it's a full reapplication for approval. Within that timeframe, would it not be appropriate to still have regular inspections, annual inspections, for example, until some point at which animal control would determine that, all things are operational as he would expect them to, or they would expect them to be, and that the functions are.
They have that
such.
written into condition 16 already, where it's biannual inspection for the first 2 years. So,
Right.
and then yearly after that. So I think for me, that seemed to cover that.
Would stay even if we were to move that
Right.
sunset to 5
Correct.
years? Okay.
Yeah. Shannon?
I still think that having 8 versus the 12 is just too many for this property, too many horses. I do appreciate the modifications and taking consideration the manure area, but there's just not enough space to operate it. And I have horses, and I clean stalls, and I know how much manure I take out, and it's a good amount. And even with the trash bin, the waste management, you're never gonna be able to get all that manure off that property. You're gonna have to have a big storage area to house it until you can. So I just feel like it's just not gonna work for this property.
For my part, I want to applaud the applicant and Animal Services for going back out there. I know that a month timeline, especially with the requirements for the reports to be written, you guys must have had to scramble to get this all back in here. Speaking personally from, I guess, now looking around, I'm actually the person that's been here the most sitting up here right now. Just based upon what we have been asked in the past in terms of approving additional animal units, this actually falls in line with what the past animal services have recommended. And I guess the reason why I am less hesitant about this, and I admit that I do not have the experience of other horse owners here. I guess the thing that I fall back on here is that I feel that within our conditions, we have several safeguards in terms of regular inspections, as well as conditions written in here that really all of this conditional use is contingent upon the cleanliness and all the requirements that would address the concerns that have been raised. So basically, if they are not able to maintain the manure service, that is a condition for denial of the revocation of the conditions. And I'll kind of defer to Teresa to confirm that. But I feel that we have many safeguards in here that are geared toward preserving the welfare of the animals, not so much for the owners. I would say that it puts quite a bit of burden on the owners to maintain this, that if they don't, then all the money that they have spent on this application essentially goes out the window. So for me, I feel that that we have done what we can to preserve this, and that it would be unfair to project what someone can and can't do in terms of maintaining their household, in terms of keeping that, and that we then rely on neighbors, animal services for their checkups to ensure that the animals are kept in good health. So that's where I stand on it. Any additional comments?
I do agree with, I agree with you, Jeff, that we are in a place of putting in stopgaps for potential hazards, I guess is one way to put it, but that we have the conditions in play that will protect, as necessary, the type of conditions placed by animal services, for example. I trust that they've done the job that they have to do to be able to come up with a recommendation that they can stand behind. And they're going to be the ones to have to confirm or deny that as the years go along. So I hold those recommendations as strength in the process. While I don't have horses, I have two neighbors, and it's the same size property, each of them. One of them has half the number of horses that the other one does, and the one that does says there's no way I could do the work he does for the number of horses he has. I couldn't accomplish that. So I feel part of this is more a personal way of doing business, not necessarily a business, but a preference as to how much work they want to do, and for the other, pulling back and making it simpler for them is what they want. So I don't want to presume that they don't want to go the extra mile, which is what it sounds like they're going to need to, because there's a lot going on. But I too think with these conditions in place, there's enough controls that they could stay within the letter of the law and be able to accomplish what their desire is.
Any additional comments? I did remember one thing that I wanted to address from you, Dennis, in terms of setting precedents. I think that is something that is very important to me in terms of the lens that I look at a lot of our decision making. And one of the reasons why I do feel more comfortable about this is that the 8 animal units does fall in line with what we have done in the past, and therefore does not exceed kind of the precedents that we have set in terms of people lining up to get conditional use permits for 8 animal units. I would say I would welcome that, because as this applicant has exhibited, it is not an easy path, because when they do come in for that 8 animal units, it does get closely scrutinized. We look at everything on it, we put the additional conditions on there, and that it's not just, there's a much higher level of expectation for a half-acre lot that is going to house 8 horses versus one that's just putting 5 down there in terms of the inspections and everything. So I would say if you have a bunch of friends that want to get 8 on there, I would say bring them in. We welcome all the horses in town, but we are going to hold them to the same standards in terms of animal welfare. So, with that, I will make the motion and see where we land on this. I will make a motion to approve conditional use permit 2025-05, subject to the attached conditional approval on resolution 2026-18, which stipulates a total maximum of 8 animal units, with the revision to adjust the sunset clause to 5 years.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Chair Shu and a second from Member Fiore. Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
Member Chuditsky?
No.
Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Hutnick?
Oh,
Teresa?
I think, is there conditions that we can have additional discussion? I can take a minute to research.
Let me bring it back to our commission then. Dennis, do you see an adjustment to this which would bring you to a yes vote?
when city council amends the city ordinance that says we can have more than 5 units on a half acre, then I'll bite into and say, okay, they're willing to open it up, then I'm willing to bend on my end of it.
So I guess my question is, the whole nature of the conditional use permit is to provide these special conditions. Are you looking at a specific number where you would feel comfortable, or are you set on 5 as the number?
Well, here's where I keep bringing it up about animal units. Dogs are considered an animal unit. You're allowed to have 4. I believe you're allowed to have 4 dogs.
No, dogs
Or
are
did they
not
pull
part
that?
of the.
Did they
yeah,
finally pull that off?
Dogs are not part of the animal unit
Okay.
consideration. They're
Well-
separate.
I think one thing to be clear about the municipal code in Chapter 18 and how it operates, there are 5 animal units, as we well know. There is a path to residents, so they can become an applicant via one of the land use permit vehicles offered to them in our code. And the vehicle that's chosen today by this applicant is the conditional use permit. And our code allows for this landowner to apply for a CUP and request additional animal keeping units. So those pathways are identified in the city's municipal code. So this is the proper process, it's the proper application, and this is the proper form. And that's why there have been other decisions made by prior commissions to grant, 1 additional unit, 2, 3, and so forth. It's not something we get a request every day on, but this commission just did approve additional animal keeping units in the last month or maybe 2 months ago on another property. There were additional horses. And so that was approved on not a similar property, but a similar size property. So this is the right process, and the city does have a vehicle established for this to be presented to this commission. And so there is a study from UC Davis that we capture a lot of our requirements from. It's, that deals with animal keeping, equestrian, style type development, certain standards, healthcare of horses, and so forth and so on. And so there is a number in our code that is, 576 square feet that is identified per animal keeping unit. So when staff landed at 8, it was not arbitrary in any respect. We did basically the simple math that was 576 times how many units could get into this square footage of property. And this property is the back portion that is to be the turnout area plus the stalls and so forth is 5,000 square feet plus, and it accommodates in our math the 576 square feet per animal keeping unit. And so that's why planning staff has seen the interpretation of our code and the application of our code to warrant 3 additional units based on all that is in our code today.
Well, what I'm seeing in this by the applicant's own admission is that this 8 is going to grow to 12 because they're talking about breeding horses, and so there's going to be additional animals on the property for up to 6 months.
Yeah, that's not the indication that staff has from the applicant. The applicant's better off speaking to it themselves. We understand that they have somewhere between 5 and 6 horses, and a couple of those may produce offspring, one at a time, 2 at a time, and then move on, prior to being 6 months. But the applicant can speak to that practice of what they do with their family animal units.
I think, just speaking directly to you, Dennis, one of the challenges of us being up here is that we are taking all of our personal experiences, opinion, and we are doing our best to protect the city. But one of the other things that we have to consider is that as members of the Planning Commission, we are one of the only ones that actually makes binding decisions. And part of that is that it has legal consequences as well. And part of our decision when we are doing this is making sure that our city is at a defensible position as well. Because if and when we deny something and it goes to appeal, it then very much becomes a legal issue where can the city defend our decision? And part of that is based upon the findings that staff has presented to us. And I guess my question to you and Shannon on this is that we've talked about our feelings on this, but I guess when you're looking to deny, we really need to have a basis for that. And if you are looking to deny this, I need you to help us identify which of the findings you are having issues with. Because if you are not able to do that, even though you may not like it, our body is charged to hold to the codes that we are enforcing.
Can staff put the findings back up on the board? It's part of the staff report.
So just to kind of help move this along, personally, I think 1, 2, and 4 are very straightforward, that we find those findings. I think 3 is the one that you and Shannon may take objection to, and I think that is one that is more subjective. But part of this is also we are, as a body, we're relying upon the people who are tasked with this. And when it comes to additional animal units, one of the things that I lean heavily on is our animal control, because they are the ones that are tasked with the enforcement of it. And so if they are coming back and indicating that the size is sufficient for it, again, I'm looking in terms of how our city legal staff are able to defend this if the case comes back for appeal.
Well, the findings definitely need to be specifically set forth on the record. And, the commission can continue to discuss, can do an additional motion with conditions, if that's something that, everybody sort of feels is appropriate. I know Chair Hedges is not here today. If there's also an option to do a motion to continue, if that's something that, the commissioners felt was appropriate.
Discussion?
This is posed to Dennis, but so would you feel more comfortable if an inspection and sunset clause change would give you more comfort in how the process is going, assuming that the 8 horses and the foaling aspect are as set out? Would you be more comfortable increasing the inspections, having reports from animal control, and even maybe pushing back or pushing forward the sunset clause to an earlier point?
I just don't, I just don't want to see the overcrowding of animals on a piece of property. And that's where, basically where I'm at. We're going from up to 12 large animals on this small postage stamp area of this property. The property is built out, and we're squeezing 12 large animals into one corner of it. I just don't want to see, I don't want to see animals getting hurt, but at the same time, I don't want to see a door opening up that just allows a lot of people to do this because we've set a precedence here to
Well, I
saying
think-
that we could do it.
I think that's one of the things that we need to clarify is that this 8 animal units on a half acre is not setting a precedence. We have that in Norco. This is not a first of its kind. We have it around, and we've approved the same in this before. Erica, do you want to?
Yes, I just wanted to tell Member Hutnick that it was 12 units. We've reduced that down to 8 units. So it's no longer requesting a total of 12 animal units.
Well, the reason I keep bringing up 12 is by the applicant's admission that they're going to breed 4 of the animals, which are theoretically are going to drop foals, and so that's going to increase from 8 to 12.
And we have,
Yeah,
Dennis, we have very specific conditions written in here in terms of how long that number can be
correct.
accounted for. Within 6 months, that number needs to be brought down. And so that's also part of the enforcement part of it. And so if your concern is the expansion of the numbers, we've got that covered within our conditional approval, that ultimately they need to stay within the numbers that is approved. So all of that comes down to enforcement. And I know for myself, I've had to fight my personal urges because I have voted for something that I thought was going to be definitely going to become an enforcement issue. But I still had to vote for it because it met all the requirements that were set before us. And so it's, yes, we bring our personal experiences into it, but we need to follow what is actually set in front of us by the guidelines in front of us. And so,
I actually have a comment. So, a horse trailer. Are we going to have a horse trailer? Where are we going to store it? The manure, we're going to put it where the horses are, the walking path to be walked off the property? And then with the square footage of the 5,748, is that just that portion that's boxed off, or does that include where the tack feed room are going to be located, also the quarantine area and the manure area?
On the revised site plan, the animal keeping area includes the corrals and the turnout. The tack and feed is a separate structure outside of that area, located just below it on the left side of the property. The manure area for the bins will be on the right side, just below that fence line that encompasses the turnout area plus the stalls. So they've identified separate locations for each of those activities, and has also done so for the quarantine area with a separate pen that is away from the other stalls and identified in the center of the property between those 2 other locations.
and I hear you, Shannon, but one of the things is when we're looking at the site, I can say, okay, you got an acre site, you need to have a tractor, you need to have a skid steer. But that's my opinion. I can't say you need to have that and you need to have a parking spot for it. And so I hear you that if they have 8 horses, they should have a horse trailer. But we don't have in our code that you need to have an 8-horse trailer in a place to park it. and it's a unreasonable condition to have, I guess.
It was
Like,
more of an observation, not as a requirement, but more like an observation as far as that goes. It wasn't like a requirement, like I'm gonna require someone to have a horse trailer. It's an observation as far as like, are they gonna sit in the back portion or in the turnout area? Are they gonna get off the property? I mean,
I think part of the disconnect here is that I think we're focusing a lot on the operating of the site, on how they're going to make it work within that. Whereas I really think that even though we may have reservations for it, the operation of it is ultimately up to the owner. What we are doing is setting the guidelines for what they are required to do in order to have that operation that they're proposing. And that's why I go back to our condition of approval, is that you can see all these challenges, but they may hire 10 people that are there every day to clean it, for all I know. I truly don't know how they intend to operate it, but I do know that we have safeguards in place that if they are not keeping to it, they're gonna lose that conditional approval. And that's what I fall back on, is that we have done what we can to protect the animal keeping here, and that it becomes incumbent upon the applicant in how they choose to operate the site in order to meet those conditions. Thoughts?
Would you mind putting the findings back up on the board? The findings? Thank you.
What are your reservations? And I guess I'll ask it a different way. Is there a modification that we can make that would alleviate some of your reservations?
Yeah, I'll go one step further. If 8 is not the magic number, what is commission's magic number? Would it be 7?
And that's part of my concern, is that when we're talking about setting precedents, and I was very concerned when we were at 12, and I pushed back very hard on it last session, because 12 is setting a precedence, whereas 8 is not. We've done 8. I've been here and voted on many, many 8 on a half-acre lot, which is why I do not see this as setting a precedence, that it is more in line with precedents that we have already set.
but were those properties already overbuilt like this one and have all the extra additional structures
I
and
think
pool?
that could be a valid discussion, and so the discussion would then be, what do you feel is overbuilt, and what would they need to do for you to be comfortable about that? But I think in terms of just addressing that 8 animal units is too much, is one that I have a difficulty defending, and I think if it gets denied and goes to council, because ultimately, again, we're coming to the findings. It's not what we feel, but what we can determine in terms of the findings. How do we defend that? And so if the feeling is that it is a built-out site, what is the resolution? What do you feel is too much on it? We are looking at removing the tool shed already. So primarily, we're looking at a third of this site being built out for residential purposes. and then the approximate 2/3 that is for animal keeping. So there's a tack and feed area for it that really is part of it. And so I just need some clarification on what you think is built out and what we may need to do to address it. I see that there's a existing pool bathroom area there. Is that a concern? But I feel like we need to, if the concern is that it is too built out, we need to identify what it is so that we can push it forward and say, and ask the applicant, hey, this is why I feel it's too built out. Are you okay to modifying it? Ultimately, what I want to avoid is this going to city council where we leave them with a scenario where they have an even harder time defending it. I want to make sure that if we do deny it, that we have investigated all of this so that they do not have to do it again at council, and that they have all the reasons for it at their fingertip.
I'm gonna still lean back on item 3, the size and shape of the site.
So I will ask you this, because the finding leaves it fairly ambiguous. But what we have is written within our municipal code, specific area requirements that is deemed sufficient for each animal units. And we actually went around this several times between the Planning Commission and then City Council, where Field brought up a lot of study on this. And we arrived at the 576 square feet very specifically. And so when you're saying that you feel it is inadequate, what part of it do you feel is inadequate? Because are you saying that our municipal code is inaccurate and inadequate? Because it's meeting what our municipal code is saying is adequate. And that was one of the reasons why I pushed back when it was 12 animal units, because at 12 animal units, it very much was inadequate. But at 8, it meets the municipal code requirements.
My understanding is the municipal code doesn't specify 8. It
doesn't specify.
specifies 5.
It does, but it specifies the area per animal unit.
But still specifies 5, not 8.
Correct. It is 5 as the baseline. And that's why they're asking for the revision, which we have done for many other projects. And what we do when we evaluate it is that we look at how much space is actually on site. And that's why I go to what our municipal code specifies as part of the space requirement for each animal unit. And so that's why when I go back to adequate, it's a very important word, because our code dictates what is adequate. So it is nebulous there, but our code is not. It specifies a specific number, 576. And with 8 animal units, they have provided the 576 per animal unit.
And when you do the math on it, it does leave a space about 3,828 square feet that's still left as open space. So after doing the math on it and seeing it, I would agree with the 8. Because I just worked it backwards and took the square footage of each one, and it does fall within the 576, and it still leaves another 3,828 of space still left over for them for the turnout area. in the middle portion of in between the pipe corrals.
Okay,
So,
follow-up question, since
So
you
I
are,
do s- yeah,
you
I
are
mean, I did-
potentially the swing vote then. Do you have any objections to the sunset clause?
with it being at the 5 years or 2 years?
That's the question to you, because the way that I had proposed it was 5.
5 instead of the 2.
And that was more, the reason why I did that was
What's-
more out of consideration for the applicant because it's an additional cost. And the reason why I didn't have as much of a concern is that we do have the biannual and then annual
Inspections?
inspection already. And so it's not as if, it's not as if they're getting by for longer. If the sunset clause is extended, it's not as if they are having an easier time in those later 3 years. That it's still held to
I
the same
understand.
standard.
I'm okay with the 5 years.
So if we want to reconsider the motion, then someone who voted no on the motion needs to make the motion to reconsider.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to reconsider approval of conditional use permit 2025-05, subject to the attached conditions of approval on resolution 2026-18, which stipulates a total maximum of eight animal units.
Second.
I have a motion from Member Chuditsky and a second from Member Fiore. Vice Chair Shu,
Yes?
Commission Member Chuditsky,
Yes.
Commission Member Fiore,
Yes.
Commission Member Hutnick.
You know, Jeff put together a hell of an argument. You know, and I'm gonna say yes. What the hell?
Motion pass.
Thank you. Right, thank you. And we will move on to agenda item 6, Commission and Staff Communications. Colby, Teresa?
I hope everyone had a safe Fourth. And in August, we do have items that are lining up for that agenda on that date, so we hope to see everyone here.
That side of the table? Dennis?
I have maybe a question to Colby. I read briefly a little bit about, I think it's AB 707 with respect to the Brown Act modifications.
I think that's a question for me, not Colby.
Okay, you're right.
And it's not
It's-
applicable to the planning commission meetings. So we are addressing that at the city council level, but it won't be affecting our meetings.
Our meetings. And one of the conditions, or maybe not a condition, but a criteria, was a community, a incorporated city of at least 30,000. And I don't think we're there yet. So wouldn't that alone kind of eliminate us in that
I mean,
context?
we're sort of looking into all of the applicable rules of it, and we are going to implement it after, review of it and its applicability, we will apply it according to the law.
Okay.
Shannon? I just wanted to say thank you for the city and staff or everything, especially the 4th of July. Bonnie, congratulations on hitting that 250. That was very, very impressive. I had a lot of fun at our country jamboree. I spent way more time in the dunk tank than I realized. I think I was in there for 35 minutes. I think Audrey just kind of sat there and watched me. But no, I appreciate all that the city and staff did for the 4th of July celebration, and looking forward to next year. Thank you very much, guys. And with that, we will adjourn.